Welcome to Rock and Recovery. I'm your host, Jay. Today I have a special guest, Peter John. I'm going to probably butcher the name, but it's Mather, according to the spelling. Hopefully that's right.
And that's not bad at all, Jay. That was you did really good. There's been a lot worse out there. So thank you very much for the introduction.
Thank you. And he's here to tell his story of he's an addict too, so his recovery story. And I'm just going to let him introduce himself. Go for it.
Thank you, Jay. So, I'm Peter, and I am a recovering alcoholic drug addict. That's the easiest way to put it out there. My story is a real kind of unique one that, through a lot of my childhood life, I was addicted to something, whether it was playing sports, whether it was golf. And then, unfortunately, I started drinking pretty early as a child. It was kind of that cool thing that you wanted to do, especially in the UK. It's a little bit different in the US because you got to be 21 to drink. In the UK, it's 18. So it was easier accessible when I was younger. And then it kind of snowballed from there. And then I had an incident where I started working for bars, and I never used to drink, Jay. I'll be honest. I never used to drink when I was working. And it was like once in a blue moon. And then all of a sudden I kind of got involved with the wrong crowd and the wrong people. And then I started taking drugs and it started to snowball from there. And I was majorly challenged with a lot of and you being a recovering addict as well, you'll know what it's like. You go into this kind of you do it, you recover, you can't, and then you go off, you go off the wagon again and it kind of snowballs. And I was kind of in that battle for quite a long time until I was 21. And then, I had an incident that I won't call it an incident. I had something that happened that was quite amazing. My mum won the lottery. I was part of that kind of lottery win. You guys over there call it the lotto, and in terms, we were one of the biggest winners of the lottery in a numerous amounts of years. So wow. All of a sudden I kind of came from being okay, not really okay financially at all, really. I was just working and just getting through life and just being a 20-year-old kid, really. And then all of a sudden I came into an substantial amount of money. And that's where it kind of started to really snowball because, as much as having this injectment of finances is, from nowhere, it was kind of really wow. And then the partying started and, the real kind of, I'm just going to put it as is. This real kind of inner addiction came out where it was I was always seeking something more and more and more. And then at 21, you'd think that, after having a cocaine overdose and being brought back to life, that would kind of put you back on the straight and narrow and get you kind of okay, stopping. And that did for a little bit. I'll be truthful with you, it did. And then I found skydiving, and, it says at the bottom there, Sky High Skydiving founder, which now I own a business, and we'll get into that later down the line about that came about. And I, from there, stopped kind of drinking and drugs and really became so focused on skydiving that it was this addiction, a new addiction, which had become of getting a major amount of drugs and dopamine, into my body from skydiving. I lost a lot of weight. I lost 4 or 5, I think 5 stone. I think that's about 30 pounds or something daft like that. I can't remember the metrics for the US. Yeah, I got into that, and then all of a sudden, again, the whole party scene in skydiving was really kind of high at that time. So started to get back into the drinking, and then started to get back into the addiction of, kind of the drugs again. And it kind of really kind of just developed again, and it just got worse and worse and worse. And then I'm going to cut the story a little bit shorter because of the fact that this is a long journey of like 18 years of being substance abuse. Nearly, in fact, starting, 18 years was the substance abuse because, and then it kept COVID here. And I just bought Sky High Skydiving at that point with 3 other business partners. Didn't know where I was going. Didn't know what I was doing in a way with COVID, like a lot of people. And we just bought a business, and it was like no one kind of knew what was going to happen with the world. And that just drew this whole mass amount of fear. And then the first thing I was turning to was drugs. Like at that point, 2019, I quit drinking and I kind of turbocharged the drugs. I turbocharged the cocaine. I turbocharged the MDMA, the pills, all that type of stuff.
All the party drugs.
All the crazy drugs. I turbocharged it all. I was dry lining a lot of the cocaine, and it snowballed. And then COVID was there, and I want to put this out there to everybody as well. I want everybody to understand is I was never doing it when I was working. I was just doing it when I was finishing work, and then with a lot of downtime in COVID, there wasn't a lot of work to really be doing except on the laptop. So I was at home a lot, just, going, and it was just snowballing and snowballing. And then a big incident happened where I was with someone at the time, and she could really see me really kind of killing myself, very slowly just going into this hole where I just didn't know kind of what I was doing. I was lying about stuff. I was going into this deep, dark hole. And if there's any recovering alcoholics, drug addicts, we all know what I mean by that. And Jay, you can really relate to this, I believe, and then this young lady decided that she didn't want to be with me no more. And that drove me over the edge to a point where I knew it was a must change. It was a real must change at that point. And then we kind of did our best to work it out, and she decided that she couldn't do it. So that kind of tipped me over the edge completely. And then I attempted suicide. And it was a pure act of God that I'm still here on this planet now, being able to talk to you. And it really is an act of God of what happened. And the moment that I got saved was because of a phone call. And it was just because my business partner picked up the phone and he called, and I had a choice whether I picked it up or I didn't. And I decided to pick it up, and he said, "How you doing, big man?" And that was the only thing I needed to hear. And then I just broke down and started crying, and he was like, "You all right?" And I was like, "No, I fucking don't want to be here," and that moment he said to me, he said, "It's okay, buddy. You own a skydiving center and you're not a bad looking lad. So you're able to get a load of chicks. So don't worry about it." And that was just
something only a good friend would say.
Exactly. And it just it interrupted the pattern. It broke the pattern. And it was just a perfect moment. And ever since that day, my whole drive has been day on day on day on day of just what is the best thing to do for this day? And 2 days ago, so you are the first person since I've been on a podcast to talk about this. 2 days ago, the 24th of the 11th, 2025, that was my 5-year anniversary from attempting suicide and quitting drugs and alcohol.
Wow.
So 5 years clean now. Never looked back. Never once looked back at all. Not once. And it's been the best thing that I have ever done in my life. And I say the best thing that I've ever done in my life. And even though I'm married now, people say, "What, more than marrying your wife?" And I'm like, yes, because if I hadn't have done this, then I would have never found my wife. And then my wife would never be in my life, and I would have never married my wife, and I wouldn't be where I am in business right now. And, you know, I wouldn't be doing the things that I'm getting to do right now, like talk to you and really spread the word about recovery and how amazing, I can't stress this enough, like how, pardon my English, Jay, how fucking amazing it is, right? To be sober, clean, getting up in the morning, feeling so beautifully refreshed, and just what a beautiful gift to be on this planet. And that is kind of a shortened down version of how I became from an addict to now 5 years clean and never stopping and never looking back and giving back to people around us.
Did you go to a rehab, or did you do a recovery program, or did you just do cold turkey?
So I did multiple. I loved, right? I loved going to rehab because it was dead easy to stop, right? And they used to say to me, "Are you going to take drugs?" And I'm like, "Nope." And they're like, "That's really good." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, as soon as I'm going to get out, more than likely I'm going to take drugs."
Yeah.
And they were like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "All you're doing in rehab," and it's great. I learned a lot in rehab. But the one thing I will say is that all they do is stop you from having it at that point, right? And I went to rehab 3 times. Sorry, no, that's a lie. I apologize. Twice. I went to rehab twice. I seen a counselor once, right at the beginning when I was 21, which really helped. And then right at the second part, when I decided, I was seeing a counselor and a coach at that time, and they really helped me. And then when I attempted suicide, I was involved with them, and they really did help me drive that kind of knowing of where to go, especially the coach. The coach really did help. And I still get coaching and mentoring to this day. I have several different mentors. You know, I have one different coach, not on recovery, just on different things. And from there, the moment I made that decision, I went cold turkey. And it was one statement that changed all of my life, all of it. And the statement was, change your environment, change your life.
Yep.
And I was like, wow. It just kind of, I was driving along in the Caribbean, and I'd managed to get out to the Caribbean because I didn't want to be in the UK at that time because it was still in COVID. And I was driving along, just been dropping some people off at a party that I was definitely not going to because this was the early stages of recovery. And I'm driving along and I'm listening to this guy, more than likely you know, and I'll say his name. His name's Tony Robbins. And the first time I heard his voice, I was like, this dude is a dick. Like, he is an American, like, you know, I did not get on with him at the beginning. And then he was talking and he said, if you keep going to the same bar and go and repeating the same thing and expecting a different outcome,
the same way,
you'll end up just doing the same thing. And he just said, change your environment, change your life. And it was like it's like he just come straight through the radio, like through the car, and he just whacked me in the face. And I was like, wow. And ever since that day, I've now done 16 Tony Robbins events. I've worked for him for the last 2.5 years.
Wow.
I've got another event that we're flying out for on Monday. I'm going to be one of his leaders, leadership. I'm doing senior leader. I have the most respect for him and his beautiful wife. And now I'm part of another group with Dean Graciosi. I don't know if you know who Dean is, his business partner for business. So, yeah, all of one statement. Change your environment, change your life.
You know, I've got a sign right here, a little thing that says nothing changes if nothing changes.
Exactly.
And it's the same thing. It's if nothing changes, then nothing's going to change. You know, if you're still doing the same dirty ass things, you're going to get the same result.
Exactly.
You know? There's another one I like to use. It's you can't soar with eagles hanging around chickens.
I like that one. That is a super cool one. You know,
it's simple. It's so true though. You know,
it is.
If you're going to hang around with the same people, and you can't be the person you're going to be. You can't be the person that you can be.
Yeah.
You know, so you quit cold turkey. You basically cold turkey with support. You
Yes,
had a community
definitely with
around you.
support.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest things is that community around us as addicts. So, did that keep you sober, or did changing your environment actually keep
It
you
was all a
sober?
changing environment. So I will now finish off that story of the whole kind of aspect of that. So I actually fell off the wagon for 2 days when I was in the Caribbean, and then realized that this was not for me. I was sat there and I realized that this isn't for me. There was something in my soul that was saying to me, "You have got a bigger purpose, Peter." And I decided then that was it. You know, I said, I'm gonna go, and I'm not going to this party. I drove all the way up. I dropped these beautiful people off, these people that I was living with. I dropped them off. I drove back. I listened to Tony all the way back for 2 hours of this drive. And I heard that statement, and it was like, boom, change your environment, change your life. I stopped the car. I paused him, and I listened to myself, and I went, what environment are you in right now? And I was like, this environment's not great. You're dropping people off at a party. Like, what the hell are you doing? Like, you know, these people that you've just, you know, you fell off the wagon with these people. Like, what? Like, this isn't right. So I went straight back to the house, packed all my stuff up, waited till the morning because I was in the house on my own, chilled out, ate a lot of Haribo sweets. You guys know what Haribo are over there, right? Chilled out, just, you know, watched a movie on Netflix, went to bed, woke up, this real new clarity in my head. Rung a friend of mine who was up there, and I said, "Hey, how are you doing?" And he goes, will you do me a favor? And I'm like, what? He goes, will you pick me up? Because like the guy that we're with, he's really being a big dick. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, and also the girl that you know, and I'm not going to mention anybody's names on this, you know, out of privacy. He's kind of being a bit pimpish with her and trying to like do some. So I was like, cool. So I jumped in the car, drove all the way up there. The guy I was with at that point, he was he'd not been to bed, so I picked him up, drove back, and I said to him, "Hey, you know what? Just to let you know that I'm leaving the property." And they're like, what? And I'm like, I'm leaving at the end of in the next day. I'm going. And if I was you guys, I would like, if you want to come with me, then I'm more than happy for you to come with me, and you know, we'll go to this beautiful these places. I'm going looking at some new places to live. I don't like this environment. So one of them, the guy said, yeah, I'd love to do that because I don't want to be around this other guy now because, you know, I don't trust him at all. And I'm like, cool. So the girl queen about it, and then we got back to the property. And I started looking for other properties. And then the other guy came back, and he brought somebody back with him that lives in the same town as me. And as soon as he got there, Jay, the guy pulled out a big bag of cocaine, stuck it on the table. And I went, okay, guys, thank you very much. I'm out. And they were like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm out of here. Like, I don't want anything to do with this right now. And that was it. That was instantly from that day. From that day, I changed all my environment. Them two people, the guy and the girl, they did move in with me. I started listening to Tony every day. I started doing lots of walking. I started just being clean. I met some new people out there in the Caribbean. It was, you know, and the rest of the 3 weeks was absolutely amazing while I was there. Came back to the UK, just started working on it and just really looking at who was in my life. And then in 23 was when it all really ramped up. Like 24, was it 23? Yeah, 23 was when it really ramped up. Started, 23. 23 of March was when I did my first Tony event, which was a one-on-line. It was a UPW virtual. And it just completely showed me a different perspective of life. I had a coach, a Tony Robbins coach at that point, a results coach. It was really working for me. And before that point, I was kind of really, I was grinding it. I was grinding this whole kind of, you know, and fortunately I got given a beautiful gift of a beautiful girl that came into my life. and she didn't drink, she didn't take drugs, and she was clean. So it gave me another purpose to stay completely clean. And then from there, I will tell you now, right? This is my perspective, Jay, is so many people have come into my life and so many people have left in the last 5 years. You know, some people are in your life for a reason, some people are in your life for a season, and some people are in your life for a lifetime. And it's us that makes that decision. And I look every single day at who is in my group of 5 people, because the 5 people you spend the most amount of time with is the person that you become, right? And I look at that every single day and I'm like, is that person serving me so that I can serve them? Because it's all about serving, and I want to serve people, and I also want to be in an environment that serves me, right? You know, and that's key. And seriously, like recently, people have come into my life, and I'm like, okay, cool. Thank you very much for your friendship at that point or your association. I just don't want to spend any more time with you. Out, boom.
So, what kept you sober? Like, the early triggers. How'd you deal with the early triggers in recovery? Like the first few months, even a year. How'd you deal with those triggers, and what kept you going?
Well, right at the beginning, it was challenging, and it was because I was doing my best to save the relationship that had been in prior, and we were kind of still in talks, and I was in my head creating a story that if I was clean, then she could see the benefits of me being clean, and she could see the real good side of me, and she could see all the great sides of me, and I've got a chance. Well, God and the universe didn't have that in place for me, because in the end, she actually started to say, you know, no. And that was the initial drive at the beginning. And then the drive was, this is then about me. And then I think I started to see the benefits of being sober. I started to see the benefits of the amazing things that I could do. And then I seen the benefits of how much more financially supported I was, because of the fact that I wasn't making stupid deals when I was doing business because I was off my head or anything, you know. And then I started to understand. And the big thing at the beginning is I never used to sleep that much, actually, at the beginning of recovery. I didn't, you know, I think that was just a thing I was fearful of. I don't know. And now I love sleep. Like, sleep is, oh my word.
Sleep is awesome when we can get it. I mean, yes. I love sleep. I literally love sleep. And for the longest time, I was addicted to all the uppers. Yeah. And for the longest time, I would never sleep, you know. Yep. God, through sleep, you know. And even early on in recovery, I'm like, yeah, sleep 2-3 hours a night, I'm good, you know.
Yep.
But now
that was me.
It's like, oh, let me sleep longer, please.
Jay, I sleep for, like, if you look at my sleep scores, they're like 8.5 hours, 8 hours. Oh, sorry about that. We've had a bit of a.
Oh, you're good. If you're close to it, you're still. Oh, there it goes. All right, you're good.
Some reason.
Technical difficulties. Hold on.
Oh, he had a little bit of a. I don't know if it was I think it's just one of them weird bulbs that goes off if you don't move enough. I got to start moving a bit more, I think. So there you go, everybody. You can see that this is just kind of live and everything's going on as it is.
So in this journey that you had, how important was a higher power to you?
Right at the beginning, it wasn't. And, it wasn't at the beginning. And the higher power at the beginning was having a coach or having a mentor, more of a coach at the beginning, because that was keeping me on, giving me results. And it was and then I had an incident where I did a spiritual journey. I had a spiritual journey, and the spiritual journey took me on to a place where I actually had an ego. Well, I believe it was an ego death. And that was when I believed that there was a higher power, because in my darkest times, I realized that I was always saying, please, God, please, universe, please don't let this happen. Please, this is not my time to die. When I had the cocaine overdose at 21, that was, I remember going back and remember saying them words like, please don't let me die. Like, please God, please universe, please don't,
If you let me live, I'll swear I'll quit,
Yeah. And there was many moments where I look back and I'm like, there was no reason, Jay, for that phone to ring. There was no reason for him to call me. It wasn't like I was due a phone call. There was no reason. And if you ask the guy now, he doesn't mind me saying his name, Michael Evans. I'm going to have to start doing this. I
think the light's telling you something. There it goes.
Yeah, I mean, and it lasted 20 odd minutes a minute ago, and then it lasted about 4 minutes. Yeah. So, and it was at that moment where I realized that in our darkest times, we always say them words, right?
We do.
So why not at our lightest times can we not say, thank you, God? Thank you, universe. Thank you for the path that you have given me. Thank you for the gifts that you were giving me. Thank you for, everything that's happening, in my life. Life's happening for me, not to me. It really is. It's always happening for me. It doesn't matter what's happening, even if it's not going the way that we want it to go, Jay, And I just started to realize that. And then, Tony has had a big part to play in that as well. And then how I met my beautiful, amazing wife, it was a complete act of God and the universe. And, that's more than likely for another time if you want. So then my faith and my belief started to grow. And now it's just continuously growing and growing and growing and growing. And okay, I understand, right? I understand, right? We're going to just kind of...
It's actually all right. Because the backlight on the computer or whatever your screen you're on is the lighting's okay.
Perfect.
If it doesn't go off, it's still okay.
Well, something's talking to me right now. Yeah. So anyway, and then it's just got stronger. The belief, the faith, and everything in life starts with one thing. Everything that we do always starts with one thing, and it's a belief. I don't say to people, hey, you should believe in God and the universe. I don't go to church. I'm not religious in that manner. I have never read the Bible or the Quran or anything like that. I just believe that there is a higher power out there. And for me, that non-seeing being is called God or the universe, whatever you want to call it. And I say thank you every day.
Absolutely. And I think that's the most important thing, is knowing that we do have somebody to fill all those voids and to turn to when we need to, and to praise, like you said, praise.
Yeah.
For me, one of the biggest things that kept me sober. So I also did it cold turkey with no support. Early on, I really didn't have any support. In fact, the only reason I got clean and sober is I found my wife hanging in my closet, and I had to cut her out and give her CPR and all this other stuff. And
did you save her?
No, she passed.
I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry.
And at that point in time, there was like a big decision to make. Like, why do I want to get sober? And because I just lost everything, or get sober and feel everything and change my life,
Yeah.
And I think that was the one life-changing event. That event was life-changing.
What a beautiful
not only for me, but I had to come to an acceptance, and I had an argument with God. Yeah, absolutely. I was pissed off. I was mad. I was angry. But, I did a lot of time in prison. I did a lot of time as an addict. And all those times, I always prayed, please take my addiction. Please let me be the person I'm supposed to be. Help me be the person I'm supposed to be. Do whatever it takes to let me be the role model for my kids, everything else. And I had to accept that he did it in the only manner that I would listen. And it ended her suffering, too, because she was battled with mental health issues and addiction also. So he did it the only way he possibly could with me, the only way I would listen, I should say. The absolute only way I would listen was that way. And I'll be real. There was a point in time I'm like, why not just blast myself to the moon and just stay there? Yeah. Why get sober? Why feel all these feelings? And I think one of the biggest things is I didn't want to forget her.
You're never going to forget her, right?
But if I was, too high, I would. Slowly, I would just forget her. She'd just been another thing. And now it's, because of that, because I got sober, because I got clean, and I can remember the good things, not just the bad things, and that's the most important thing to me.
Thank you so much for sharing, Jay. I really appreciate that. And I really feel what a beautiful gift to be given.
Not that light though.
No, not that light, not the light, and what a beautiful way to put it. It was, have you heard about the guy in the boat with the house, the sinking house?
He's on the roof, and he keeps sending God keeps sending. Well, he's praying to God to save him. Please, God, save me, save me, save me. And he sends one person. He's like, no, God's gonna save me. Sends another, no, God's gonna save me. And finally, he drowns, and he gets up there, and he's like, well, why didn't you? I prayed. Why didn't you save me? He's like, I sent you 3 stupid boats. Why didn't you get on one?
Yeah, that's the story. And if no one's ever heard that story, it's all about sometimes we have to see what we are asking for. Yeah. And if sometimes consistently we are being given signs and we are missing them signs, well, sometimes they will never stop until we actually see them. And my belief is that you weren't seeing the signs that you were being given. And the only way that you could become the true person that you wanted to be and your true purpose on this planet was by losing something so close to you that it shook you up and was like, holy shit, I'm not missing this sign now. This sign is here. Yeah. Thank you so much.
And now I can recognize the opportunities and whatever else come along my way, the good and the bad, and I can differentiate between the two, whether it be good or bad, clear-headedly, and that right there is also an amazing thing, being able to think clearly through things and not have to, and know that I was 20 plus years, almost 30 years as an addict, 20 years in prison, and I don't have to do that anymore.
What a great feeling, eh? What a great feeling.
I don't have to be that person anymore,
That was never you.
Yeah.
That was never you, if you don't mind me saying. Like, I'm gonna interject and say that was never you. That was just a mask.
It was.
This is the real me. This is the real you. And everything that we have put on, and the people that are listening to this out there, and I really thank you from the bottom of my heart for listening. And we've still got, loads to talk about. Just sometimes we have to strip that mask off and just be real, raw and real. And when you say things that may not feel like they're the right thing to say, they normally are the right thing to say. And the truth will set you free. And that's the biggest thing that I have ever done is, I can't lie now. Jay, if you ask me a question, I can't lie. You ask a good enough question, you're going to get a freaking great answer, bro.
If you ask the wrong question, you're probably not going to get the answer you want either, but it's not going to be a lie.
Exactly. It won't be a lie. It'll just be more some sarcasm, some British sarcasm coming back. Like.
So how much of an impact is giving back helping you stay in recovery, and how much does that affect you daily is giving back?
Insane amounts. So one of the big things that I did in 2022, what was 2022? 2022, BBC British Broadcasting Company. You may know them as BBC Worldwide or BBC America. In the UK, they did a 27-minute documentary on me, on how I changed my life in 18 months. And when they came along to me and said this, I said, yes, 100% I want to do it. They said, why? I said, well, now I'm going to put myself so high on a pedestal and I want to give back to people that not only will I never go back to it just for me, I've now got thousands of people that have seen me and heard the things that I've got to say and speak about and be so raw and congruent and transparent that I now have thousands of people that I'll let down, and I don't want to let anyone down, never mind myself. So the immediate thing that I started to do, and I'm going to ask you a question, Jay, is that all right?
Absolutely.
Why do you do this podcast?
To bring the message of hope. And
is
for
there
me,
any other
hope
underlying?
means, hold on, pain ends. And I just want others to know that it's possible. There's a life outside of addiction. There's a life
Well,
outside of struggling. You don't have to struggle as hard, once you become sober and clean. It's not easy, but there's light at the end of the tunnel. There's an end to it.
life's not easy.
Life's
Full
not
stop.
easy.
Even when we're fucking sober.
Yeah.
Life's
It
not
doesn't
easy.
just become rainbows and daisies and unicorns pooping, whatever.
No. It's not
It
that.
gets hard. It gets hard because you got to go through all those things that you covered up as an addict. You got to go through all those emotions, all those situations, that all those things that you did as an addict. It still hits you. It still hits
Yep.
you.
It is.
And what I like to say is it gets less hard. The more
Yeah.
time goes by, it gets less hard.
Do you mind if I reframe something for you there as well?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Is that all right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I invite you to change the word hard to challenging.
It becomes less challenging. It does. You're absolutely correct.
I mean, you set this podcast up however long you did, a few years ago, and you didn't more than likely know how to set a
3 months
podcast.
ago.
3 months ago. Okay. So 3 months ago, you set this podcast up. Congratulations, by the way. Right? Yeah. You can see I didn't do my research. That was really bad.
It's okay. It's okay.
I know it is. I mean, it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is it was a challenge to you because you wanted to get it out there. And the reason I want to reframe this word of hard, and if people are listening, when people are listening to this word, is the biggest thing that I ever changed in one of my wording was I eradicated the word hard, because as soon as you say hard, it's like a stop. But if I say, hey, this is challenging, it gives me motivation and deeper inner purpose to go, right, okay, then I've got somewhere to go. Now it's pulling me towards it. It's not a push. We don't want to feel like we're pushing if we've got something to pull us. And if I say the word, hey, Jay, do you like a challenge?
Absolutely, always.
Oh, right. So look at your body language. Look at how you feel when I said you want a challenge. So if you now just reframe that word and you say, it's challenging. Yes, every day that I wake up is a challenge, right? Depending on what it is, depending on business. But I have the most fulfilled life ever. I have beautiful routines, rituals, and habits. It's absolutely awesome what I've created in, 5 years of being sober and being clean. It's just phenomenal. The faith that I have created, the belief that I have created, not only in me, but people around me. The message that we're getting out there. We want more people like you doing what you're doing, and I want to say thank you for what you're doing. You're an amazing human being that's been through something that some people will never able to feel what it feels like to do that ever. And some people will never know what it's been like to be in my shoes. And I don't know what it's like to be in everybody else's shoes.
Right.
And all together, what we can do is really show that the side of coming away from addiction, or the side of coming away from drugs, or the side of coming out of that crowd that may be a gang or maybe a set of people that are not doing the right thing for you, or, they're not serving you in the right manner. As much as it's a fearful time and it's a challenge, the other side is way better in this scenario. Way better.
It absolutely is. And it's amazing that for me, it was all, I didn't want anybody to suffer like I did or my wife did anymore. And for me, giving back it keeps me accountable. It not only keeps me accountable, it helps me keep others accountable, and we become very aware of bullshitters and people that, are trying to fake it, very aware, because those are the people that, talk really good. They're the snake oil salesmen, let's just be real. They're the snake oil salesmen.
That is the one thing I would say. That is the one thing I would say from being clean, and you've just hit the nail on the head, is my awareness now has become so switched on. And the other thing is, I have a question. I'm curious about something. I'm curious about how much, and I ask this question to a lot of people that are recovering from whatever, because we're always going to be recovering addicts, by the way,
Absolutely.
even 40 years down the line, 50
Absolutely.
years down the line. We're all, and I'm proud to be a recovering addict.
Me too. I don't have any shame about my recovery. No shame.
Not at all. The curiosity is this. How much smarter do you believe you are now?
I don't believe I'm any more smart. I think I'm less stupid.
Okay.
Let me explain that, because I've always been a very intelligent person. I've always been a very intelligent person, and I would dumb it down for myself to fit in. So I don't feel any more smart. I just feel less stupid.
And that's a great way of putting it. And I love it, because it's the same concept that, you know, because there was a moment in time where I was like, wow, am I getting actually smarter? And I was like, no, you're just doing less stupid shit in your life.
Stupid stuff. Yeah.
You know, you're making better decisions, and decisions are always decisions define our destiny.
Yes. And even my mom, my little brother will tell you, I'm probably one of the most intelligent people that they know. I know my little brother will, absolutely. And he he'll tell me, he'll brag about me. He's like, yeah, my brother, he's probably the smartest person you're ever going to know. He just made stupid choices. Yeah, I sure the hell did. Yeah. So I just do less stupid stuff.
Yeah. And what a beautiful gift.
I would say jumping out of a plane is highly not freaking very smart.
Well, I mean, I've done it, I don't know, I think 6,000, 7,000 times now. And, I've got numerous amounts of medals. I did the whole kind of how many medals have I won and how many awards I've got. I think right now, 20 odd medals over the 19 years of skydiving. I've got a star award from British Skydiving. I got recognized by the governing body I got recognized for giving back in the face of drugs and alcohol.
Wow.
And talking out about it. And, I own a skydiving center as well with 3 amazing business partners. I have numerous amounts of businesses. I'm an entrepreneur now, working with some American company now in the US, creating a new program to do with health, well-being, life longevity. So this is a new chapter of our lives that we're going to be doing. When, everything comes good, we will, in the end, be moving to the US. The visa application is in. Sometimes people say, don't talk about this, when your visa application's in.
Yeah.
I believe that, I deserve to be in the US. I've got the right attitude to it. And, and I believe that the right officer is going to see that I'm going to be a benefit to the US. And I know that I'm going to be a benefit to the US. Absolutely. How can I not be a benefit to the US? I mean, I'm an entrepreneur. I've done this for 20 odd years. I know how to grow businesses. I know how to turn businesses around. I have done for many, many years. And also now I'm looking at the health industry and using skydiving to turn the health industry into a different spin-off. So by using skydiving as an example, I then get to coach people through the addictions with food and the mindsets of, how do we change your mindset to create a new relationship around your body and food. And that also incorporates alcohol.
So I got a question is, I know you said you were still addict and still active addict when you had your 3 business partners after buying Sky High Diving.
Yeah.
So how'd they approach you? How were they around you?
They didn't know.
Active addict, or did they even know?
They didn't know. They didn't really know. They knew there was a problem. I just did it very much in privacy. I did it very much away from a lot of them people. Like I say, I never did it when I was working. I never did it when I was on site. I used to be there. I used to leave. If we was having parties and stuff like that on the drop zone, then I would do it back in my caravan with myself. And then I'd go back in. I'd never do it in front of them. And and they were drinkers. Some of them are still drinkers now to this day. Some of them aren't. So 2 of them are drinkers. And when we started the business in COVID, I think everybody, let's be honest, Jay, I think everybody who was doing it was just drinking a lot anyway.
Right.
So I think there was a lot of times that it was being missed, So and then when I came clean about it and was like, I need help, they were like, yeah, we knew you had a problem. We just didn't know how bad it was. And that's the same as if I asked you, right? Not many people knew. In fact, no one really knew except my ex-partner, knew how bad it was, just me. And there's only you that knew how bad it was for you.
Right.
And the people out
Nobody
there
would ever tell me you need to get help. Nobody ever tell me that shit. Nobody would ever tell me that. So, And
I got told that. The biggest word I just used there is I got told. Well, as a child, we never want to get told. As an adult, you don't want to be told. You don't want me telling you what to do. You have to see it for yourself. And it's this work that we do now that gets people to see the difference. I didn't get put in front of someone talking about their addictions. I didn't believe that it was not true. I was surrounding myself with the people that, and I'll just tell you this quick little story. I went for a meal yesterday with a guy that I have he is a beautiful souled human being. He's one of my true friends that I've known for 20 odd years, right? I had some great party times with him. I had some times where it was great, and he's now got a beautiful family, and he's really, he's enhanced himself, and he supported me from being clean. He's stayed in contact with me, and I went for a meal yesterday with him, and I said, it's very funny this, and he said, what? I said, when I got clean, and he went, yeah. I said, I got phone calls from people going, I want to apologize. And he said, why? I said, because I used to get the blame. I was the one that got the blame for being the one that got everybody else's partner so-called too drunk or too doing drugs or not going home on time or this, that, and the other. And then since I've been clean and left that group of people, it's not stopped. It's continued. And he was like, oh, yeah, good point. And I'm like, this person's not changed who they are. This person's not changed what they're doing. This person's not changed what they're doing. So guess what? I was never the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's one of them things where people it's easier for someone to blame somebody else than look in the mirror and say, shit, I've got a problem. And that's what I did. I looked in the mirror, and when I lost my ex-partner, I looked in the mirror and I went, shit, I've got a big problem. And I must change this problem. And then when I attempted suicide, that was the gift that gave me. At that point, I was already clean for 3 months, by the way. No, sorry, no, I hadn't been clean for 3 months at that point. Sorry. I'd already been clean for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. So I was clean for 2 weeks until that point.
Wow.
So yeah, and so it was, and like I was clean, and then that happened on top. Wow. So yeah.
So this is probably gonna be my last question, and I ask everybody that. If there's one thing that you want everybody to take away, what is that?
Take a look at who you're spending the most amount of time with. The 5 people you spend the most amount of time with is the person that you become. And don't be afraid to step away from them people and go and find new people and reach out to people and say, hey, I heard you do a podcast with Jay, or Jay, how are you doing? I love your podcast and I'm struggling a bit. And just don't be afraid to go and ask for help, because that's the one thing that I know really did help me. And I know now, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Jay, it really does help you by talking about it.
It does. Absolutely. 100% it does.
Talking about our life and what is going on in our life is so important. And just every day, look around at yourself and say, who am I spending the most amount of time with?
Right. Yep. And it's crazy that once you get outside of addiction, you'll start finding the right people to spend time with.
Oh, it's unreal how by closing one door, as I call it, opens four up. It's insane. Close one door, one friendship, one associate, one whatever. Close that door, three more open up, and you find three people coming into your life that, are just phenomenal people. I mean,
very true.
how I met my beautiful wife, that's for another day.
That's very true. Well, Peter, I just want to say thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you're getting ready to come over here to the States, but so thank you for taking time out of your day and coming on this podcast. I know we had some confusion back and forth a few times, but I'm glad it all worked out in the end. That's awesome. And thank you for sharing your story.
Jay, really appreciate you as a human, buddy. Thank you for sharing your story with me. And I really sending you lots of love and care, and God bless.
Absolutely. You too. And for that, that's Rockin' Recovery. So keep rocking your recovery. And me and him, we're out of here. We got shit to do.